The academy gates stood tall, shining silver under the strange sun. Alien cadets gathered in long lines, each one from a different world, each one wearing bright uniforms and heavy gear, their eyes full of pride, their voices sharp with confidence. They had trained for years, and now the time had come. The survival exam in the deadly forest, an exam feared by all, an exam where many had failed before. In the middle of the crowd stood one human, small compared to the tall insect warriors, weak compared to the armored lizard people, quiet compared to the loud wolf-like cadets. He carried no glowing weapon, no shield with flashing lights, only a simple survival kit given by the academy: rope, knife, water bottle, and some basic tools. To the aliens, he looked like a joke, a mistake, someone who should not even be there. The alien instructors stood above on a high platform, their voices deep and cold. They spoke through the translator machines. The rules were simple. Survive inside the forest for 7 hours. No help, no rescue, no second chances. The forest is alive. It kills the weak. It tests the strong. Those who survive will become warriors. Those who fail will be forgotten. The forest gates opened slowly. A long sound like metal grinding against stone. A wall of green appeared before the cadets. The trees were taller than towers. The leaves were black and purple. The air already felt heavy. Strange lights glowed between the trunks. Eyes watched from the shadows. The ground shook as if something deep inside was breathing. The cadets whispered among themselves. Some laughed in excitement. Others showed fear, but no one admitted it. They were aliens of honor. They had reputations to protect. Only the human stayed silent, his eyes fixed on the forest. His mind calm, he did not speak. He only breathed, he only waited. The command came. Enter the forest. The cadets rushed forward. Shields up, scanners flashing, weapons ready. The human walked slowly. He did not rush, he did not join any group. He stepped into the shadows of the forest as if stepping into another world. The first screams came within minutes. Vines shot from the ground and wrapped around 2 alien cadets. Dragging them down into a pit of thorns, others tried to cut them free, but the vines moved faster than blades. Blood sprayed. The forest swallowed them whole. Silence returned. Fear grew stronger. The instructors watched from their screens. Their faces calm. They did not move. They did not help. This was the exam. The forest would decide who was worthy. The alien cadets pushed deeper. Some formed groups. Trusting their own species, others argued. Their different cultures clashing under stress. Scanners beeped, warning of moving creatures. Strange calls echoed from the trees. Shadows moved, the air grew colder. The human stopped near a wide tree. He touched its bark, felt its strength, looked up at its high branches. He noticed the vines that could be used as rope. He noticed the fruit hanging above. He noticed the way the wind carried the forest's smell. He was thinking, not fighting, not panicking. Behind him, 3 armored cadets laughed. Look, the human is already scared. He is hugging the tree. He will not last 1 hour. They turned away, charging forward with their heavy weapons. But the human did not answer. He only climbed a root, looking for the higher view, deeper inside. The alien cadets fired their plasma guns at glowing beasts. The noise woke other creatures. The ground split open with sudden cracks. More cadets fell into the holes. Cries echoed again. The forest answered every sound with more danger. The human moved carefully, avoiding noise. His small size became his advantage. He slipped between roots, climbed rocks, listened to the wind. The forest seemed less angry when he stayed quiet, less dangerous when he respected its silence. Hours still remained. 7 long hours. The cadets were already sweating, some bleeding, some panicking. The forest did not forgive mistakes. The instructors' voices returned once more. Survive. Do not hide behind machines. Do not wait for rescue. Only those who endure will pass. The alien cadets looked at each other with fear, their weapons shaking, their pride breaking. They had expected a test of strength. But the forest was not an enemy that could be beaten with power. It was an endless trap, a living nightmare. The human sat on a thick branch. High above the ground, his heart steady, his eyes scanning the land. He remembered Earth stories, old tales of survival, how simple shelters saved lives, how patience defeated danger while the others wasted energy. He was already planning, the forest was watching. The cadets were panicking. The instructors were waiting. And the human, the weakest of them all, was just getting started. The forest swallowed the cadets the moment the gates closed behind them. Tall trees bent together like giants whispering secrets. Their leaves blocked the sun, turning the land into a green twilight. Shadows stretched in every direction, and every shadow seemed alive. Alien cadets pushed forward in groups, their glowing weapons cutting the air. Scanners blinked red, warning of strange movements. Claws scratched against bark, wings flapped in the distance, and low growls rumbled from under the soil. The forest was not just dangerous. It was alive, it was hunting. Some cadets moved with confidence. Armored lizards walked proudly, their heavy tails smashing bushes. Insect soldiers spread their wings, sending flying drones ahead. Wolf-like cadets sniffed the air, their sharp teeth flashing with excitement. They believed their training and their technology would protect them. They believed the forest was just another battlefield. But the human cadet did not believe this. He walked slowly, carefully, watching the ground before every step, listening to the whispers in the wind. His eyes moved to every branch, every moving shadow. He carried no scanner, no shield, only his mind and the simple kit in his bag. To the others he looked weak, but to the forest he looked different. The first wave of panic came quickly. A group of cadets shouted as their shields began to flicker. Something unseen had drained the power. The devices beeped once and died. The bright light faded, leaving them in darkness. They looked around in terror, their confidence broken in minutes. From the ground, roots moved like snakes. They wrapped around a tall insect cadet, pulling him down. His mandibles clicked as he screamed for help. Others fired plasma blasts, but the roots absorbed the energy, glowing brighter instead of burning. With a snap, the cadet was gone. Buried under the soil, silence followed. The forest grew darker. Thick mist rose from the ground. Glowing blue in patches, the mist covered vision, and every shadow became a threat. Cadets began to argue. "Stay together," one shouted. "No split up. Faster that way," another shouted. Voices grew loud. Fear broke their unity. The human climbed onto a thick branch sitting above the mist. He looked down at the cadets. They ran in circles, their weapons shaking, their pride fading. He whispered to himself, "Noise makes enemies. Silence makes safety." His small notebook opened. He marked simple notes: draw trees, circle the safe spots, track the direction of wind. Every detail mattered. Another scream tore through the mist, this time from the wolf-like cadets. Their leader had stepped into a nest of glowing insects. The ground exploded in yellow sparks. Thousands of stingers pierced his armor. He roared in pain, rolled on the ground. His followers attacked with claws, but more insects came. Swarming over them, their cries echoed, then faded. Above them, the human remained still, his heart beating fast. But his hands steady, he watched carefully. He learned something new. The insects only attacked when their nest was stepped on. They did not chase him if he avoided the ground. Knowledge was survival, weapons were not. The cadets who survived began to gather. Forming groups of their own kind, mistrust spread quickly. Lizards refused to follow wolves. Insects refused to trust anyone else. Small fights broke out, not against the forest, but against each other. Their pride made them weak. Their fear made them enemies. Meanwhile, the human tied ropes from vines. Pulling himself higher into the trees, he remembered old Earth training. Stories of tribes that survived in jungles, not by fighting the forest, but by living with it, he whispered. "The tree is my wall, the leaves are my roof. The branch is my bed." He began to build slowly. Rope here, stick there, shaping the first pieces of his simple shelter. Below, the cadets grew louder. The mist carried their voices far. The forest listened. The shadows moved closer. Glowing eyes opened between the trees. First 2, then 4, then dozens. Beasts with teeth longer than knives, their bodies covered in bone armor. They crawled silently, waiting for the noise to guide them. The human leaned against the tree trunk. Holding his breath, he covered himself with broad leaves, his smell hidden, his body still. From his high point, he watched the forest close its jaws on the loud cadets. Chaos exploded. Plasma blasts lit the mist. Green blood splashed on roots, weapons broke, shields cracked. Cadets ran in every direction, hunted by shadows they could not understand. The human did not cheer, he did not laugh, he only thought, "Panic kills faster than claws. Fear blinds faster than fog." He stayed quiet. He stayed hidden. Minutes passed like hours. The forest returned to silence, but the cadets were broken, their numbers smaller, their courage weaker, their trust gone. The exam had just begun, yet they already looked like survivors of a war. High above them, the human sat in his half-made shelter, his mind calm, his eyes sharp. He knew 7 hours would feel like 7 days. He knew panic was the true enemy. And he knew the forest was testing not their weapons, but their wisdom. The deadly forest was winning. The alien cadets were failing, but the human, the weakest of them all, had not even started fighting. He was still preparing, still learning, still waiting. And in the green shadows of the forest, waiting was the strongest weapon of all. The forest was still alive with whispers. Branches creaked above, unseen creatures moved below. But in the middle of this chaos, one cadet sat quietly. The human. While alien cadets screamed and fought, he was thinking, while others wasted energy. He was planning. The human's eyes scanned the tall trees, their roots wide, their branches strong, their vines hanging like ropes. He touched the bark with his hand, feeling the texture. Strong and unbroken, he looked up. The canopy was thick. It could hide him from the glowing eyes in the night. The trees were not enemies. They were shields. He remembered old Earth lessons, not from the academy but from stories. Soldiers in the jungle, tribes in the wild. Survivors who lived with nothing but hands and mind. They built homes from wood. They made fire from sparks. They survived not by fighting nature, but by joining it. The human opened his small kit. Inside was rope, knife, flask, some hooks. Nothing compared to the alien technology, but enough for someone who understood simplicity. He tied the rope around his waist. He placed the knife on his belt. He held the flask close. Then he looked again at the trees. His plan was simple but powerful. Stay above the ground, stay out of sight, build a shelter that kept him safe, find food and water without making noise. Survive not by power but by patience. 7 hours could feel like 7 years. But 7 hours was not impossible. Below him, alien cadets clashed with each other. Lizards shouted at wolves. Insects hissed at birds. Weapons lit up the mist. But every sound called the forest closer. The human shook his head. He whispered, "They do not see. They do not listen. They are fighting themselves, not the forest." He climbed higher, his hands steady on the rough bark. The vines helped him move. The branches spread like bridges. Soon he reached a spot where 3 thick branches crossed. It was strong, wide and hidden by leaves. A perfect place for a shelter. He began to work. His knife cut smaller branches. His rope tied them together. Slowly he shaped a platform, not large, but safe enough to sit or lie down. He layered broad leaves on top. Making a cover to hide from above, he worked with care, every move silent, every step patient. It was not a home. It was not strong like alien tech, but it was enough. In the forest. Enough was victory. As he worked, he listened. The forest spoke through sounds. A distant roar told him where danger moved. A sudden silence warned him of hidden hunters. The wind carried smells, sour from poison plants, sweet from edible fruits. Every detail mattered. He recorded them in his mind. Hours passed like this. His shelter grew stronger while below the cadets grew weaker. One group of armored lizards tried to build a camp on the ground. They placed glowing shields around them. But the forest hated light. Soon roots cracked the soil. Insects swarmed. The shields overloaded. Explosions filled the air. Their camp became their grave. Another group of wolf-like cadets hunted for food. They chased small creatures, but the prey led them into a trap. Thorn-covered vines closed around them. Their howls echoed. The forest feasted again. The human saw it all from above, his shelter finished. His treehouse simple but effective. He tested it by lying down. The branches held. The leaves covered him. The height protected him. He felt safe for the first time since entering. Not completely safe, but safer than the ground below. He whispered, "Treehouse, simple, strong, invisible. This is enough." From his flask he drank small sips, saving water. From the branches he pulled fruits that looked safe. He tested them slowly, small bites, waiting. When they did not burn his mouth, he ate. His hunger faded. The forest below raged, but he was calm. The cadets below panicked, but he was steady. Some cadets looked up and saw him, their voices filled with mockery. Look at the human hiding in a tree. Like a frightened child, this is not survival. This is cowardice, they laughed. But their laughter ended when a beast leaped from the mist. Its jaws opened wide, its teeth like blades. They screamed as it tore through their group, their laughter turning into terror. The human did not move, he only watched. His shelter kept him invisible, his silence kept him alive. The instructors observed from their control room, their screens showing every cadet. Their notes filling with details. One instructor raised an eyebrow. "The human builds a shelter, not a camp, not a fight." "But a shelter," another replied. "Strange method, but he survives longer than most." They kept watching. Curious night was coming. The forest glowed in strange colors. Blue mist, red plants, golden eyes. The cadets below shivered, their weapons low on power, their groups broken. Many missing, many wounded, but the human in his treehouse, stayed calm, his mind quiet, his heart steady. His plan had worked. The forest was dangerous, the cadets were panicking. But the human had found the one truth of survival. Simplicity beats chaos. Patience beats fear, silence beats noise. The deadly exam had just entered its darkest hours, and already the weakest cadet looked stronger than them all. Night arrived like a curtain falling. The forest changed its skin. The green shadows turned black. The air grew heavier, and every tree glowed with strange colors. Blue veins pulsed across bark. Red flowers opened wide with teeth instead of petals. Golden eyes blinked between the leaves. The exam was no longer about courage. It was about surviving the night. Alien cadets huddled together. Their armor cracked, their weapons low on power, their pride broken. They lit bright flares, hoping light would give them strength. But the forest hated light. The glow called predators closer. The first attack came fast. Flying creatures, wings sharp as blades, eyes burning like fire, they swooped down on the cadets, slicing shields, cutting skin. Cadets screamed and fired blindly. The flares made it worse. The light only guided the hunters. Blood stained the ground from above. The human watched. Hidden in his treehouse, the branches thick around him, leaves covering his body. His fire was small, just enough to warm his hands. The smoke hidden by damp leaves. He whispered to himself, "Light invites death. Silence invites life," his eyes sharp. His heart steady. The cadets tried to fight back. Insect soldiers used their stingers. Lizard warriors swung heavy blades. Wolf-like cadets howled to rally their groups, but the forest struck harder. The ground split open. Roots rose like snakes, pulling down those who shouted loudest. The trees themselves seemed to move, branches bending to trap, vines tightening to choke. One cadet shouted, "Stay together! Stay strong!" But before his words finished, a shadow leapt from the mist, a beast with 4 arms and a mouth wide enough to swallow a man whole. It crushed him in seconds, his group scattered in panic. The human did not cheer, he did not smile, he only breathed slowly. His plan was working. The forest attacked the loud, the careless, the proud, but ignored the quiet, the invisible. He leaned against the trunk, his shelter strong. His rope tied tight, his mind calm. He ate small bites of fruit, drank slow sips of water, every move controlled, every sound soft. While others wasted strength, he saved his. While others fought for glory, he fought for survival. Hours dragged on. The forest tested every cadet. Poisonous fog spread low across the ground, burning eyes and skin. Cadets coughed, choking, gasping. Some collapsed, some tore off helmets, their cries echoing until silence took them. The fog never reached the human. His treehouse stood high above it, his simple height saving his life. Hungry beasts prowled below, their claws scraping bark, their noses sniffing for prey. They circled the cadets who bled, dragging the weak into darkness. The survivors grew fewer, their weapons almost empty, their hope almost gone. But the human remained, untouched, unseen. He pressed his hand against the wood of his shelter, whispering, "The tree protects. The forest feeds, patience wins." At one point, 3 cadets ran beneath his tree. Desperate, their eyes wide with fear, they saw him above. They shouted, "Human, help us, pull us up, save us." Their voices shook the branches, their panic spread. The human froze. He wanted to help, but he knew. Noise calls danger, and danger was already here. From the mist came the sound of cracking bones. A massive beast crawled into sight, its body armored in black stone, its teeth glowing red. It moved toward the shouting cadets. The human's heart raced, but he stayed still. If he climbed down, he would die too. He closed his eyes as the beast attacked. The cadets' screams ended quickly. Silence returned. The instructors watched from their control screens, their eyes narrowing. They whispered to each other. "The alien cadets fight and fail. The human hides and survives," another said. "Not hides, adapts. He does not waste energy. He uses the forest. The others fight against it, he moves with it." They marked their notes, impressed but silent. The night stretched on. The forest struck again and again. Every hour another test. Every hour another failure. The cadets' numbers dropped. Their pride shattered, but the human survived. His treehouse stood firm, his patience stronger than teeth, stronger than claws. Near dawn, the forest made one last move. A storm of insects rose like a black cloud, wings buzzing, stingers dripping poison. They attacked anything that moved, cadets screamed. Running in every direction, weapons useless against thousands. The human pressed leaves around his body, covering his smell, covering his skin. The swarm passed by, searching but did not touch him. He stayed still as stone until the buzzing faded. When silence returned, the forest seemed to sigh, as if satisfied, as if saying, "The test is not over, but you, small one. You understand." The human opened his eyes. His shelter still strong, his body still safe. His plan had held through the deadliest night. Below, the forest was filled with broken weapons, torn armor, and silence where voices once shouted. The cadets had panicked. They had fought. They had died. But the human, with nothing but a treehouse, patience, and silence, had endured. The deadly forest had struck with all its fury, but the human was still alive. Still waiting, still calm, and in that moment, the instructors watching knew the weakest cadet was no longer the weakest at all. The night had broken many cadets, and when the pale light of dawn touched the deadly forest, it revealed the truth. The proud alien warriors were no longer an army. They were scattered, trembling, their armor cracked, their weapons drained, their eyes full of fear. What began as hundreds had been cut down to a few, each one alone, each one mistrusting the others. The deadly forest had not only hunted their bodies, it had poisoned their minds. One group of insect cadets stumbled together, their once sharp wings now torn, their eyes wild with fear. They argued in their clicking voices, blaming each other for failed plans. Their scanner devices broken, their stingers dull. They moved in circles, chasing shadows, their panic louder than their words. A pair of lizard warriors sat against a broken tree, their scales scratched, their swords chipped. One hissed in anger. "This forest is cursed, our strength means nothing," the other growled. "Then we take from others, we steal their weapons. We survive by force," but when they stood, their legs shook, their courage was gone. The wolf-like cadets had once howled with power, but now their voices were whimpers. They had lost their leader to the swarm in the night. Now they fought among themselves, snapping teeth, fighting not beasts but each other, survival turning into betrayal. The human watched from above, his treehouse hidden by thick leaves, his body calm though his heart was heavy. He had seen them fall, he had heard them cry, and now he saw them destroy each other. He whispered to himself, "The forest kills the loud, but fear kills the proud," his words soft, almost carried away by the wind. Below, cadets tried to form new groups, desperate alliances born not from trust, but from fear. One insect shouted, "Join us, or die alone," a wolf growled back. "We would rather die than follow you." Their noise echoed through the trees. The forest listened and the forest answered. Glowing vines crept from the soil, wrapping around careless feet. Thorn plants opened like mouths, spitting venom. Beasts with armored hides stalked closer. Drawn to the chaos, the panic fed the forest. The panic made it stronger. The human stayed still, high above, but his eyes never left the ground. He studied every attack, every movement. He learned which plants were traps, which animals hunted noise, which paths were safe. He was a student of the forest, and the forest became his teacher. One cadet tried to climb a tree, but he did it in panic, rushing, breaking branches. His noise brought flying predators. They tore him down in seconds. His screams ended before he hit the ground. Another cadet lit a fire, his hands shaking, hoping for warmth. But the flame burned too bright. The smoke rose too high, and soon the air filled with hissing insects. Thousands of glowing eyes, they swarmed him. His fire turned into his grave. The human's fire, by contrast, was small, hidden, controlled, his smoke invisible under damp leaves. He smiled sadly, not because others fell, but because he understood now. Survival was not about power, it was about patience. The instructors in the control room leaned closer to their screens, their voices low but sharp. "Look at them. The cadets from the strongest worlds falling to fear," another said. "And look at the human. No weapon, no shield. Yet he survives." They exchanged glances, uneasy, impressed. Time moved slowly, every minute an hour. The cadets below shouted less and less, their voices broken by exhaustion. They walked like shadows, their steps weak, their eyes empty. Panic had drained them. One group, desperate and starving, looked up and saw the human's shelter. One cadet shouted, "He has food, he has safety. Take it from him." They began to climb, claws scratching, wings buzzing, their eyes filled with envy. The human's heart raced, but he did not panic. He pulled vines tighter around his shelter. He broke branches above, letting them fall. One cadet slipped, screaming as he crashed to the ground. The others froze, fear catching them again. Before they could climb further, the forest itself attacked. Roots surged upward, wrapping them, dragging them into the soil. Silence followed. The human breathed slowly, his shelter safe once more. His mind steady, he whispered, The forest protects those who respect it. The forest punishes those who fight it. From far away, he heard the cries of another group, begging each other for help. But no one trusted anyone anymore. They stole food. They pushed each other aside. Their survival became selfish. Their honor gone. Their pride destroyed. The human shook his head, sadness in his eyes. They do not see, they do not learn, they only panic. He adjusted his rope, checked his shelter, and prepared for the next hour. The exam was not yet over, but already the alien cadets looked broken. Their fear louder than their courage. Their panic louder than their weapons, and in the heart of the forest, only one figure remained calm. One figure stayed quiet. One figure endured, the human. The weakest at the start, the survivor now. The forest had tested them all, and while the cadets drowned in panic, the human learned to float. 7 hours was still not complete. But for the human, the path was clear. Patience, silence, simplicity. These were his weapons, and in the deadly forest, those weapons were stronger than any blade, stronger than any beam, stronger than the pride of all alien worlds combined. The forest grew quieter as dawn approached, but the silence was not peace, it was the silence of hunger, the silence of a predator waiting. The night had already stolen many cadets, and those who remained looked less like warriors and more like ghosts. When the first light broke through the trees, pale and cold, the survivors stumbled into view, their armor dented, their weapons drained, their eyes hollow, their steps heavy. Once proud cadets now crawling through mud. The human watched from his shelter high above, his treehouse hidden among thick leaves, his body steady though tired, his mind still sharp. He had slept in short moments, resting between sounds, his patience stronger than exhaustion. The instructors in the control room leaned close to their glowing screens. Their alien eyes focused on the human, they whispered, "The others are broken." But the human remains, his shelter still stands, his calm unshaken. Another replied, "He is not fighting the forest. He is moving with it, strange yet effective below." Cadets tried to regroup, but trust was gone. One insect cadet accused a lizard warrior of stealing food. The lizard snarled back. Soon they fought. Weapons clashed weakly, claws scratched. But the fight ended not by victory, but by collapse, both falling in exhaustion, too weak to continue. The forest listened, and the forest answered. A massive shadow moved between the trees. The ground shook with every step. A beast larger than all others, its body covered in thick bone plates, its eyes glowing red like fire. Its roar shook the air. The last groups of cadets froze in terror. The instructor spoke again, their voices sharp. "The final test has arrived. The beast of dawn, the destroyer of pride. Those who survive this will be worthy." But their eyes moved back to the human, wondering if he would face it. The beast charged, crushing roots, snapping trees, its mouth wide with rows of teeth. The cadets screamed and fired, their plasma blasts weak, bouncing off the armor. Their blades cracked, their shields failed. The beast roared louder, sweeping its tail, throwing them like toys. The human crouched in his shelter, his heart racing but his mind calm. He whispered, "Do not fight it, use the forest." His eyes moved quickly. Studying the beast, it attacked sound. It followed movement, but it avoided thick trees. The human's mind built a plan, simple yet sharp. He untied vines from his shelter. He broke branches, he carried stones. Then he climbed higher, steady as the wind. He waited for the right moment. Below, 3 cadets stood together, trembling but desperate. They shouted to each other, trying to distract the beast, but their plan failed. The beast crushed them underfoot, their screams ending in seconds. Blood mixing with mud, the human gripped his rope, tied a stone at the end, and dropped it far from his shelter. The stone cracked loudly against wood. The beast turned instantly, charging toward the sound, its massive body smashing smaller trees. The human acted again, dropping branches, more stones, each one far from him, each one louder than his own breath. The beast followed the noise, roaring, confused, chasing shadows, not the human. The instructors leaned forward, shocked. "He is using sound to control the beast," one whispered. Another nodded slowly. "Not power, not weapons, but simple tricks. He survives with nothing." Their eyes showed respect. A rare gift. The beast slammed into trees, roaring louder, but it could not find the human. Its fury grew. It swung its tail, breaking the ground, sending mud flying. The cadets who still lived ran in terror. Some tried to climb, but the beast's claws pulled them down. None were safe, none except the human. From his high shelter, the human dropped one last branch, timed perfectly. The beast lunged after the sound. crashing into a deep pit hidden under roots. The ground collapsed, swallowing its massive body. The forest itself seemed to trap the creature. Vines tightened, thorns pierced. The beast roared one final time before silence fell. The human breathed slowly, his body shaking from tension, but his plan had worked. Not by strength, but by patience, by using the forest's own traps. He whispered, "Do not fight the forest, let the forest fight itself." Below, silence spread again. The cadets who remained were too few, too broken. They crawled through mud, coughing, bleeding, their weapons useless, their pride gone, their eyes empty, but above them, the human still stood, his shelter safe, his body tired but steady, his mind sharp. The instructors finally spoke louder, their voices carrying weight. The alien cadets are finished. Their panic has destroyed them. Their pride has blinded them. But the human, with no power, no weapon, no shield, has endured. The forest glowed softly as the dawn grew stronger. The exam hours almost complete. The cadets below looked up one last time. Their eyes filled not with anger but with shame. They saw the human calm, alive, steady, and in their silence they understood. The weakest cadet had become the only true survivor. The dawn had tested them all, and only one remained strong. The human in his simple treehouse. The forest had struck with claws, with fog, with beasts, with fear, but the human had survived them all. And as the final hour began, the deadly forest itself seemed to bow in quiet respect. The last hour of the exam ticked slowly. The forest was quiet now, too quiet. The mist had faded. The glowing eyes had closed. The beasts had returned to their caves. The deadly forest seemed to rest as if it had tested enough, as if it waited for the final judgment. Only a few alien cadets remained, scattered, broken, their armor torn, their weapons empty, their once proud faces covered in mud and fear. They no longer looked like warriors. They looked like survivors of a disaster. The human still sat in his treehouse, high above the ground, his shelter simple but strong, his body tired but alive, his eyes sharp, his breathing steady. He had endured the storm of night, the swarm of insects, the fog of poison, the beast of dawn. He had endured everything with patience. The instructors in the control room looked at their glowing screens. Their voices hushed. The exam is nearly over. The cadets are nearly gone, but look at him. The human still stands. One alien instructor shook his head in disbelief. No weapon, no shield, no special power, only a rope, a knife, and a treehouse. Yet he has outlived them all. The final test came not from the forest, but from the silence. Silence pressed against the cadets like a weight. Silence reminded them of their losses. Silence made their fear grow stronger. One lizard warrior stumbled into view, his tail dragging, his sword broken. He looked up at the human's shelter and hissed with envy. "You think you are clever, human? You think you are safe?" He began to climb, his claws scraping the bark. The human did not panic, he watched calmly. He untied one vine, then another. His shelter shifted slightly, the lizard froze, unsure. Then with a sudden snap, a heavy branch fell, knocking the warrior back to the ground. Vines wrapped around him like snakes. The forest claimed him. Silence returned. Another cadet, an insect soldier, crawled weakly near a pool of water. Her wings broken, she leaned down to drink. But the water moved, rippling, glowing. And then a serpent rose, its mouth wide, swallowing her whole. The surface became still again. The forest gave no mercy, but the human needed no mercy. His plan had always been the same. Survive by being simple, survive by being silent, survive by being patient. As the final minutes passed, the remaining cadets fell one by one, not by the human's hand, but by their own fear, their own pride, their own noise. The human stayed above, his rope tied tight, his shelter hidden, his body calm, his eyes on the horizon, and then it came. The sound of a horn, long and deep, echoing through the trees. The gates of the forest opened once more. The exam was finished. The instructors' voices filled the air. The test is complete. The survivors stepped forward. But from the shadows of the forest, no cadets came, only broken armor, only silence, only failure. Then a figure climbed down from the trees. Slow, steady, calm, the human, his body tired but unbroken. His face marked with dirt, but his eyes clear. He stepped onto the open ground, the only cadet still standing. The alien instructors stared in disbelief, their voices low but full of weight. The alien cadets failed. The human survived. The watching crowds outside the academy fell silent. Millions of eyes across worlds waiting for results. And then the announcement came. In this exam, the only survivor, the only one who endured, is the human. Gasps filled the air, disbelief turned into whispers. Whispers turned into shouts across the galaxy. Alien voices asked the same question. How can a human, small and weak, survive what others could not? The answer was simple, and the instructors gave it. Strength is not always muscle. Survival is not always weapons. Power is not always noise. Sometimes survival is patience, silence, and the wisdom to adapt. The alien cadets who had mocked him, those who had laughed when he climbed trees, those who had called his shelter childish, now hung their heads in shame, their pride shattered, their honor broken. The human stood tall, not proud, not arrogant, only calm. He saluted the instructors, his voice steady. I did not fight the forest, I listened to it. I did not waste strength, I saved it. I did not fear the silence. I became part of it. The instructors nodded slowly, their voices heavy with respect. You have passed not only the exam, but the true lesson. Survival belongs to those who adapt, not those who destroy. The galaxy would remember this moment. The day a single human, armed with nothing but a rope and a treehouse, survived the deadliest forest while the strongest warriors of alien worlds fell to fear. The story spread across stars, across planets. The name of the human cadet became a legend, a tale told to new warriors, a reminder that the smallest voice can outlast the loudest roar. The forest remained behind, silent once more, but perhaps smiling in its own way, for it had seen something rare, something pure. It had seen a human survive, not by force, not by pride, but by patience. And in the heart of the galaxy, the words were whispered again and again, humans survive.